Hey folks, Quilly here, and welcome to another video in our Unity base building game series, codenamed Project Porcupine. And today did not really go as planned. What I had intended to do was just quickly finish porting over all the other furniture code behind the scenes, and then start on something new. And because I thought it was going to be relatively straightforward, but ran into a little bit more sort of tricksy stuff that we had to deal with. And I've already done the work now. So what I'm going to do, rather than sort of redo it, is I'm going to go through what I did over here. It's not necessarily something you have to sort of copy yourself. You'll be able to download the project as is for all the updated code. But yeah, I didn't want to have to redo it because I figured I'd miss something along the way. So I thought I'd just talk about it. So what was I working on? Well, mostly I was working on getting the stockpile code to work. And we can see now it works. Everything works perfectly. The stockpile works exactly the way that it should. Our oxygen generator still works. Our door still works. And our wall over there should also still work. Since we go through it, the door should show. Yep, that's good. And right, there's no oxygen being generated right now because this is not an enclosed room, because I had to, just reset the world for a couple of testing. So what was the problem? Well, if we go and take a look, there's actually quite a few things that we'll have noticed. So this is our Lua file, and I do want to apologize for having capitalized Lua in a lot of places. It should be L-U-A, like capital L-U-A. It's not an acronym. Apparently it's Portuguese for moon, so I've looked that up on Wikipedia. So yeah, so we'll be trying to write that more properly in the future. Okay, so I did a little bit of thing to sort the file, add some little comments and stuff. I was just trying to neaten things up, and then I was going to start working on our stockpile. So the stockpile update action is the centralized function for that. So every frame, the stockpile checks to make sure that it's not full or anything like that, and then it makes sure that it's got a job on the queue. So if a stockpile is not full, then it makes sure it's got a job on the queue, which is asking our character to bring goods to it. So the logic here is exactly the same as before, but there were a lot of little gotchas. So same thing here, we check to make sure if our inventory is not nil, and our stack size is greater to or equal to our max stack size, then clearly we're full. So all we do is we cancel existing jobs and return. That's great. Then we say, hey, do we already have a job queued up? Oh, we do. All right, we're cool again. So just return, that's fine. Okay, so we're not full, but we don't have a job either. So either we have some inventory or we have no inventory. And we do another check here just to make sure, like, is there some weird way where we have an inventory stack the size 0? This is just wrong. It should never be, and I wanted to throw like a big error for this when it happens. This should never happen. In fact, I don't know if we've ever seen this error, so good on us. Then we get to the place where we ask for items. We need a new array of items desired over here, so this is how we create an empty array here in Lua. Then we see if our inventory in our tile is nil, that means we don't have any inventory here whatsoever yet. So we fill our items desired array with a helper function called stockpile get items from filter. This is just a dummy function that we made originally in C#. We've got it over here. I'm going to talk more about this in a second, but this just returns a hard-coded array of we're looking for steel plates. Ideally, this is going to have to get items from a filter, which is going to be something that's attached to our stockpile furniture, which gets set by the user via UI. But right now, all we say is the items that we want here is we want steel plates. And that's what we set hard-coded in there. The other option, of course, is that we already have an existing stack, in which case our desired inventory is going to be exactly the same as whatever we already have in our stack, but we set the size to be whatever's remaining, so that's fine. We set the items desired to a new array containing that. That's great. Then we create a new job. Now, this is one of the first differences you'll note if you're comparing side by side with our old C# code, is right here we are specifying false for whether a job repeats or not, and that's because we've seen that Lua does not pay attention to default parameters. This 6th parameter in the job constructor, we'll also talk about what this is in a second. The 6th parameter in the job constructor is whether the job auto repeats, and in C# it's defaults to be equal to false. Lua doesn't notice that, and in fact, if we just try to call it with 5 parameters, it will throw an error because it says there's no function with 5 parameters, it doesn't match. So we have to explicitly specify that, or we have to make another version of this function, aka this constructor, that only takes 5 things. So in here I decided to just pass false manually, and then we tell the job that you don't take things from other stockpiles, but later on we might do priority. We set a callback. Now this is another little change here. When we registered the job worked callback before, we passed a reference to a function in the past. Now I am passing a string, which is the name of the function in Lua, because we can't just pass the reference to the function itself. Well, that's not entirely true. It looks like I can pass the reference to the function itself, but I elected to just do the string here. We'll see if we want to change it differently. But in any case, even if I pass the reference to the Lua function, it would need, so let's take a look real quick at job right over here. And if we widen this, job worked callback over here, and I need to embiggen the text. Job worked callback is expecting an action. And this is not, if I change this to just do this, which is legitimately a function here in Lua, it would not be an action of type job. I think this would work if we were accepting a dynamic value CB and then did things there. But I said, you know what, we'll just use the string. It's fine. Okay? And what's nice about this, it means that outside of our Lua code, I could still do a registered job work callback by just passing it a string, and it'll attempt to call a Lua function with that name. So I did a second version of job registered callback here. You'll notice I also have another variable here. This is a list of strings as opposed to an action. So we just add and removed from that list of strings based on this. So then everything works hunky-dory and awesome. And we add the job to the furniture. That's great. So I'm going to backtrack here within this function and make a note here. So what is this? Well, as is in the Moonsharp interpreter here, we cannot instantiate an instance of a class by doing something like new job. Okay? That doesn't work. That's not a convention that is present. And really, new job, what this is a shortcut, even in C#, if you consider it. What this is a shortcut for, well, what we're going to do is we're going to instantiate a new instance of job, call this constructor here, which sets it, and then we're going to return this new thing. We could easily, oh, that was me doing some tests. You could imagine that you could have something like public, actually it'd be a static public returns a job called something like create job, and has, you know, all the same things over here, and return, you know, so here we would say new job, and then job j equals this, and return j, and you know we do some more work in this area here. I mean, that's in a sense what the constructor does. So since Moonsharp doesn't really construct objects the same way, or since Lua doesn't really construct objects the same way, what Moonsharp does is it adds this fake function here, underscore new. That is a way to call the constructor. So you sort of have to know that magic fake keyword there, but then the constructor works. Well, that's not entirely true, because what's interesting is so let's say I have I have a piece of furniture being passed to this function, right? Let's clean that up a little bit. We have a piece of furniture being passed to this function, and we can do something like furniture.tile.inventory.stackSize. How does Lua know about these classes? Well, it knows about these classes because we've added this Moonsharp user data line over here. And this little tag combined with, I'll talk about that debug stuff in a second, combined with this over here, loads all our class information, all our class definitions into the Lua interpreter. And then when things get passed back and forth between C# to Lua, it automatically knows what the proper functions are and everything like that. But there is a bit of a catch in that this will know fine. When I pass in my Lua, when I pass this into the furniture, then Lua knows, you know, that furniture.tile.inventory.stackSize, all these things works because of that. But that is not the same as knowing the class called furniture and being able to call something like new or any other static function on furniture. Actually, that was another thing with, somewhere in here I've got world. Yeah, so world, this is my class, and it's got a static property called current because we've got that sort of quasi-singleton kind of thing. So world.current. Well, by itself, even if in world I do this, Moonsharp user data, that is not sufficient for Moonsharp to know that it can access this world, that this world class, this world static is in existence. So what you have to do, and this got me a little confuzzled at first, what you have to do is you have to explicitly add a reference within your script's global space. You have to create an instance of the class, basically, or a reference to the class, and then everything works fine. You still have to do the first step with Moonsharp user data, or you can do this instead. If you don't want to use these tags here, you could instead do register type and job. There we go. That's an alternative. If we do this, then we don't need to do that. But I'll do it that way. So anything that you need to instantiate inside of your Lua script has to be present here. You sort of have to make the class itself known. And anything where you need to access the statics / global / whatever, you need to do that as well. So we're never going to instantiate world instead of Lua, but we need to be able to make it visible that way. So that was a little gotcha there, and you can see a similar reference right up here in our little helper function, stockpile, get items from filter. Well, we just hard code in this inventory. That's not going to be the case later on. Later on, we definitely have to read from the stockpile and get the right stuff. In fact, I suspect that this does not belong in Lua at all. Probably this doesn't belong in Lua at all, and should, and instead we should just be calling a C# function to give us the list. But, you know, I was trying to just port things over as directly one-to-one along the way. All right, what other gotchas did we discover here? I don't remember how many of them were gotchas and just things that I sort of had to figure out on the fly. I mean, we did go and add awareness to a lot more of these classes, like job wasn't in this list, for example. The starting and stopping of jobs. A surprising number of things worked very, very well. I guess the other thing I can talk about, and this isn't related to Project Porcupine itself, but I could talk about the debugger support. So Moonsharp ships with the debugger, and I couldn't quite get it to work. Maybe you guys can. I'm probably just missing something, and so I'm really looking forward to you guys just, you know, the brain trust out there figuring things out. So this over here, this is basically copy and pasted directly from the example. This is a little, let me backtrack. After I go and I parse my script, I create a new instance of the script, and then I call activate remote debugger, which is this function over here. As far as I can tell, it doesn't matter if I activate the remote debugger before or after I read the script. So in my testing, it didn't seem to make a difference whether I did it here or here. So whether I fed the string in or not. And maybe I'm just not reading this code in correctly. I'm not sure. So then it calls this function, and when it does, I've got the static instance of remote debugger. We make sure it hasn't been instantiated once before. And we create this remote debugger service. I give it some random ports. Right now I'm only running in a single script, so this was a lot easier because it would just pop open the right thing. This doesn't matter. This is just the title of the window. This can be anything. My awesome debugger, like that. And then, yeah, and then whether the script is free to run after attachment. Defaults to false. Again, whether I set this to true or false doesn't seem to make a difference in the next step. And then at this point here, it's running basically a little web server. At this point, there is a web server running in the background as a separate thread that you can attach to, and it's based on this port. It's on your local host, and it's based on this port over here. If you run this line here, it'll automatically pop up a browser window for you. So let's give this a try. So I put this in because one of the things that happens is if you get an error in your Lua script, you don't get a very informative debug information. I thought, oh, if we attach the debugger, maybe it'll help. So if I run this now, right away, I get, bring that up there, I get this window over here, this debugger that's running, which is awesome and cool and potentially okay, except you can see this is not my script. And here it says host busy, wait for it to become ready, which I don't really understand because, you know, I can load this, I can, whoa, I'm getting errors now. That's interesting. Function call doesn't match any overload. What? Did I change something between last run and this? Hang on, let me close the debugger. Let me... Well, no, this is already running in the back. What the hell did I just change? I clearly broke something. Oh, man. Guess ka fuck. And here's the good problem, a good example. Function call doesn't match an overload. I don't get a reference to what line or what the function call name is, or anything like that. As far as I can tell, there's nothing helpful in here. Ah, crap. What the hell did I change? Oh, maybe did I make a change and not correctly save something? Let me close all these windows. So I wonder if I comment something out and put it back in, right over here. Let me try that again. Oh, for crying out loud. And so then I'm like, well, how do I figure out where the error is? And it's I start doing things like this. If true, then return. If you just expose the return by itself, it has an error because it's you shouldn't have anything back here. It's a very obtuse error. We see so what does that do? Okay, so that's fine. What the hell? I must have broken something with the job code. Although it might not be here. It might be on a subsequent run. Load again. Okay, so it's not that. Oh. Yeah, it's this. Sorry. It's because, yeah, there was no register job work callback that requires a din value. Instead, it's a string. So now we should be back to working. Okay, so having done that, let me go back to furniture actions. Dun, 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 dun. And so if you guys can figure this out, holy crap, is it going to be ever nice. There's also an actual external debugger as well. Okay, so way over here. Uncomment this. Okay. But yeah, you can see there was no line info as to where in the Lua code the error was. So we load, and things are clearly running, and yet over here nothing is happening. Go to current, pause. No, I mean the Lua still runs, and I do have my thing set to run in the background, as you guys clearly saw, because clearly things were running in the background. So if I reload here, it's running. But I don't know how to get my content in here. I don't know if there's something else I have to add in. So you guys use your brains. I have faith. You guys can do it. Because it'll be really handy to get the Lua debugging working. And the other thing we can do eventually is you can do a custom debugger for Lua. If we can capture errors and report them in-game, in a way that's handy for modders, that would be good. But the nice thing is, this debug mode, right, with the browser that pops open, we can include that within the project itself. And imagine we have an option in the options menu. You turn it on to have the Lua debugger. So average players are just playing the game and things are fine. And people, they download mods and that's all okay. But especially as a mod developer, you're like, well, I want to know exactly what's going wrong or how my script is running. So you go into the options, you put you tick something on, and it's if debug option is on, then we start this. Or probably more accurately, we run the rest. Or we always run this part. Right? We always run this part, which again starts that internal web browser. And if you know about that, then you can just point your web browser to it. Or if you do this, it'll do that. Probably what we'll do is actually do something like wrap this whole thing, right? For the activate debugger is something like this. If debug option is on, then we activate the debugger. Boom. And just like that, our users, or our modders rather, will be able to get the debug information, but I can't get it to work. So you guys, I'm sure I just missed something, and you guys will probably poke around and figure something out. So woo! Yeah, okay. I'm sure there was more I wanted to talk about. I wonder what that would be. Well, I had to make a bit of a change to job when job works triggers. What is it? Do work over here, right? We call the action, but then we call the Lua version of it as well. And I don't know, that might mostly cover it here. So maybe I'll do, while you guys are watching, we'll try to do another one of these. So that was the stockpile. What's left after that? Oxygen generator, we've got... Oh, the mining drone station. So this will be interesting because we are going to require that we spawn inventory. So we might run into some more quote-unquote interesting problems here. So I'm going to grab all the mining drone code. And I'm going to paste it down here. And I'm going to convert it from one to the other. So this is just function, mining drone station. I really should probably call them all on update. Well, we'll rename them later. That's going to be okay. And here, again, I'm going to... This is probably shooting myself in the foot, but I'm going to rename it to furniture, which means I have to find all the ferns and then fix it. And if you miss one, it can be a little annoying. So I'm actually going to go through the ferns now. Now, again, I'll probably miss some somewhere, but I will do my best to avoid that. And here. Okay. The other thing I have to do is replace all the comments. So I'm just going to do a find and replace of // and replace them with --. Replace all. Good. Okay, we got our comments in place. And then over here, what we don't need the type. It's dynamically typed, so we do that. Get rid of the semicolons. If furniture is greater than that, yes. Then. Oh, here's another funny glitch. It's not really a glitch. See, when I call this job new, if I do this, it doesn't work because unless I'm getting confused with something else. But this seems to want to call a empty constructor, a default constructor for job, whereas this, it recognizes the function call as something different. So there's a little bit of a Lewis syntax there that I think I was maybe getting myself in trouble with. Anyway, mine drone station, right? Do this, then that. If this, we got to replace the ands. That's actually another find and replace. So the and, we go from there to the word and. Replace all. There we are. Then cancel job and that, and then we return, and then an end there. If it's not equal to null, it's greater than stack size. Then boom, end. Get to here, we got to create a new job. So job spot is equal to the furniture get job spot. If it's not equal to null, it's larger to this, that. Then our spot is already full. Don't create a job. So we end there. Wait. Hold on. What's going on here? Here we're checking. Okay, whoa. This is clearly code I put in first. When the stuff was spawning at our feet, it was here. We don't actually need to check to see if the place at our feet is full. We only need to check the spot where we're spawning things is full. So I think we can just get rid of this. All right. All right, then we get the job spot, then we're creating a new job. This syntax changes to job.__new. Like this, no space there, so that should work. Job spot, it's not null, it's nil. Oh, right. Nil. Are there any more nulls anywhere? Yeah, just there. Okay. Nope. No. All right. Creating a job. Job spot nil. We are going to pass. On job complete. We want this, which we don't have support for right now. What am I talking about? Well, if we go to job, when we go to instantiate a job, we require an action here for job complete. So, do we do a second variant of this with a string? Or, this might be better, or if we just passed nil over here, and then after we say job.register job complete callback, and then we add it that way. think we'll want just a separate constructor here, maybe for that's more Lua friendly. But we'll get back to that. So our register job complete callback. So we're going to do the same thing as we did here with the job worked. Is we're going to add a text version. I mean, we may need to do the same thing for jobs stopped, but let's just do one at a time. That'll be okay. Lua, boom, and then duplicate that. And then over here, good. And, oops. Oh, they're not clumped the way that I would expect. Let's do that. Like that. There we go. So then we want another version of these that takes in a string. Lua.add. I guess you could just plus minus into these arrays like this, but that's all right. On job completed, Lua.remove. There we go. And we need to call those properly. So wherever they get called over here, say for each string Lua func in CB job completed Lua, we call furniture actions.call function Lua func, and it will need a job reference, which is ourselves. Okay. Anywhere else we call job completed? Probably, because why would we only call things once? I guess that's it. I guess this job stopped we call a few different places. Okay, so I think we've got that. Make sure our little code compiles okay. That's our C# code. All right. So back over here, yes, we passed nil because we actually can't pass an action. It would be really nice to clean this up because this is sort of like an awkward calling schema for Lua. Then we register the text-based version of our job, which is good and fine. And that should mean we end here. So then this is the function we'll actually be calling with that function. I remembered, ooh, I didn't remember. Get rid of that curly brace over there. Calling a function where we call world.current.inventory-manager.place-inventory. We get a spawn spot from our job, and then, oh, we want to create a new inventory here. Dot new steel plate. And, you know, maybe we want to generalize this code later because we might want stations that produce other things. We might want to read it in from some variable or whatever, but that'll be okay. So it's going to create a chunk of 20 of those, and then we can end this function. And I suppose we can shrink that down that way. All right, let's see if we are happy with that. The answer is no. We got a compilation error in our Lua. Now, these are a little bit more informative than our runtime errors. Closing parentheses expected at line 198. That might be the complaint there, or it might be a reference to an earlier one. No. Expected to close near F. Near F? Let's just check our parens from the start here. Luckily in Sublime, if you click near a parens, it'll highlight the other half, right? So there's the other half there. There's that one. That's definitely closing that. That's definitely closing that. That's okay, so that's not the problem. There's some other thing going on here. I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm just going to cut out this bit for a second. Oh, also, that semicolon shouldn't be there. Let me make sure that's not just the problem. I don't expect so. No. Also, wrong window. So, if I just cut this out completely, then what do you have to say? Line 200 near J. So there's definitely something I have done goofed on. It's not terribly handy. Could even be higher up than this. Here, let me get rid of this entire function. Okay, seriously now. Arg. And my tabbing keeps getting screwed up because the debugger launches and changes my window order, which is annoying the hell out of me. So I'm going to go ahead and just not activate the remote debugger. So, alright, get rid of this. All of our new code. Play. Alright, that's fine. Let me just leave in this bottom bit. Nope. So it must be here. Nope. Function ij. What the hell am I doing wrong? So it's not happy with this. Make sure there's not like a weird invisible character anywhere, but I can't imagine why there would be. Okay, so I still have the other one on my clipboard. Hopefully I won't accidentally bash it. Well, you can always undo a bunch. Oh, Job J. Hang on. That's probably not the only problem. I wonder if I can instantiate inside. No, that's not it. Okay, now we're happy. And now we won't be happy again. So I can't. It's so annoying because I'm sure a bunch of you have seen the line. But I'm trying to go fast. Wait, it's not just fixed now, is it? No, it was still in there. There's something way down here. So this is so like annoying. What I wouldn't give for something a little bit more info. Oh! It's this F, I bet you. Aha! Okay. So yeah, I mean, this was never really required, but like, let's say I have something like this, 1.0 in Unity. This would complain because it's trying to, it's a double. This is a double floating point number, and it's trying to, and I'm just requiring a single. So in Unity, you put an F here to specify that it's a single floating point number. Well, that was causing a syntax error. I don't think it was the only one. That extra job here, if I put this back in, I think that was still going to cause an issue. But that's where some of the confusion came in, because we had two things wrong. If I do this, yeah, and what does that error say? Yeah, expected to close. So they were both kind of similar-ish debug things, I guess because there was an error happening within a parentheses, and that was confusing the compiler. Okay, but now we should be okay. So by getting rid of that little F, okay, that was not as obvious as I thought, so I don't feel quite so dumb. Right, you're doing that. We want the mining drone to get built. Okay. Oh, right, of course, no errors, because this is not actually running yet. Because we have to go into our XML file right here, and we have to specify some things about our mining drone. So it's got a movement cost, a weight or width, and a height. That's great. It needs an onUpdate function, something that runs every update, and that thing will be called mining drone station update action. Boop. Ugh. And the copy and paste breaks because of course it does. Okay, so now we'll get a whole new slew of errors. And load and mining drone. And yeah, we get some errors. And it's like, it's delightfully unhelpful. Oh, cannot exit field register job complete callback of user data job. Really? Why not? Well, at least this is like actually got a reference to a word that I can... Register job complete callback. Because it's job completed callback. So it's not that you can't access it, it's that it doesn't exist. But, you know, thank you for that mostly helpful error message, actually. It's shockingly useful. Boom, mining drone. Okay, you're going to finish stacking. Now you're going to go work the job. Okay, you're standing in the wrong place. But you're doing things. I think it's get job spot. Oh, right, of course. It's this is fine. This is because we don't specify a job spot or a spawn spot anymore. Right? We need that area. I don't even know if that loads in. Furniture. Come on. Come on, you can do it, document outline. I have faith in you. There you go. Prototype. Yeah, we don't even go looking for it. So, it's where we've got two things. We've got job spot offset and job spawn offset. And right now, we're not reading that in from the XML file, nor is it present in the XML file. So, we need... What are they called? Probably with the offset in there. I think that's probably fine. Break. And the same thing for the... I guess we've got job spawn spot offset. I think that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. So I guess we're just going to read in X and Y for these things. And parse. So int.parse. Of course, this can throw an exception, but we're going to deal with prettier error handling later. So really what we're saying is, we're saying that job spot offset is equal to a new vector2, where the x is that. Come on. What? Oh. Still in tooltip mode. And the y is that. Like so. Job spawn spot offset. So then we go back to the XML and we put in some sort of tag, which is going to be self-closing. We say x is equal to, so this one is +1. Oh, and y is equal to 0. So that's, we're just offsetting things one over to the right. And I don't need to do this because it is spawning the 0, 0, but I'll put it specifically in there to see how that loads. So if we hit play and put down the mining drone, he works at the right spot. It spawns over there. Eventually he finishes that job, goes and drops it off, and then goes back to work it. And eventually this gets completely full, and he's got nothing left to do anymore. So if we like gave him a job, like let's say we had him rebuild this stuff, walls and doors. So now he's going to grab stuff from somewhere. He still doesn't grab from the closest place. We don't have that in there. We're just cheating and grabbing from the very first inventory spot in our array, because closest has different definitions that we're going to want to work on. But it is working. So, and eventually, if you'd run out of these construction jobs and run out of minerals, the thing at the bottom of the queue is more mining drone jobs. Because at some point, there was, yeah, oh, there we go. You grab some more. Oh, that's interesting. Did you walk by it a little bit? I wonder why he does that. Then he's going to work it, and then he's going to store it again, and then he's going to work on that. Look at that! He's keeping himself nice and busy. This is all being run by Lua code, which is gorgeous. Gorgeous. Do I have another furniture action after this? Mining drone station. No, that's it. So as far as I know, all of our furniture has been rewritten to work in Lua. I would like to clean up the interface that Lua uses to interact with the rest of the program. And at some point, we'll also have to verify that, see, because Lua can call any public function or interact with any public variable on an object. And we may not want that, which may mean making a pass through a public protected thing. Because up until now, within our C# code, it's kind of like, well, the only people that are going to be running things kind of internally are just the programmers, and if they break something, well, you know, you can just break something as the programmer regardless, so it hardly makes a difference. But with mods, we want to make it so that the mods can't do anything like really screwy. Again, it's less of a safety and security thing, and more of a, we want to be certain that whatever functions the mod is interacting with, the rest of the program doesn't accidentally misinterpret something and then break through doing something that, from the modder's point of view, it looks fine. Like, as a modder, I should be able to change this value, sure, but then the program is like, oh, I really wasn't expecting you to change the value because it's also got to update these 3 other things. So we have to make sure that anything our Lua code interacts with in the world is probably being done through an accessor function that is properly cleaning up everything associated to that so that everything in the world stays in proper sync. So we will do that, but also I really do want to like make it so the functions are a lot more intuitive and less annoying for the people. And of course, we'll have to come up with a reference file for all those things, but that is very, very, very exciting. And again, if we build this thing right now, all of the XML data and Lua data over here is just going to be sitting in a file that someone can edit. Like, we can build it, send it to them. They don't need Unity. They can open up the furniture data and Lua logic and make changes to the game as is. Well, one thing that's not the case quite yet is the sort of ability to override other stuff, which I think I would like. You know, like, imagine, so we've got this, but let's say someone else wants to change something about Mining Drone Station. What we don't want them to have to do is make changes to sort of the master version of Mining Drone, right? So again, we have our sort of streaming assets here, and assume that like data and Lua and all that, this represents the master sort of built-in version of this furniture. And if, you know, we update the program or whatever, it overwrites things. I would like it if they didn't have to go in and modify the original furniture.xml, but rather made a new, you know, my modded furniture.xml file that's got, say, this tag here, furniture object type mining drone, and 1 line. Like, the only thing they want to do is they don't like the fact that the stuff spawns on the left. They just want to mod it so things spawn on the right. So they just want to put in a file. Can I just make an empty file here? Hang on a sec. Let me do it here. Show an explorer. Copy my mod like this. I know you guys can't see it. There we go. So I made my mod file, and all I want to do is override one thing. I don't like that the mining drone station spawns things on the left. I want them to spawn things on the right. So I want to say this, and I want this to be my entire mod, is this here, right? And it's going to sit in this folder like that. And so what I would like our game to do is first to load sort of the default kind of master mod, which is us. So this file here, load, not this one here, load everything in, and then go through all the other XML files that it finds. And some of them will define something new, which is fine, and others will have an object type reference that that already exists. And so what this instruction will be is change what was already there before. And I think we can actually do that surprisingly easy, which is really, really, really exciting. So that is something that we will look into at some point. I don't think that'll be the next video. I think, oh man, that is tempting all of a sudden. I think the next video is going to start poking around at moving our images out of here and into the streaming assets, which I think is something else that it has to happen. At the very least, right now, technically things are moddable because people can ship an alternate version of streaming assets, which has different types of furniture or whatever, you know, total conversion kind of stuff. But we also need the images to be in there and to do something like that. But do I want, because the images, are we going to want it moddable and overrideable the same way? So maybe I should be thinking about the override behavior first. I think that might be what we do. actually, is implement modding. It's like such an early time to do that, but it's actually not going to be that hard, and it's going to inform the next level of image stuff. And that's like, we're really getting close. That, and apparently me forgetting that our pathfinding system for finding the closest object is really just like, you know, a spoof right now. It's a fake function right now, and we'd like that to work more properly. We're getting very close, again, to, you know, getting to this project skeleton is done, and we're ready to open up to the community. So we'll see how it goes, but I don't know, maybe I'll work on, I don't know yet. We'll see. I'll poke around and figure out what's best. See you next time, folks. Bye-bye. Thank you everyone who pledged on Patreon to support these videos back in May, and are therefore keeping this series going from June through to early July. And a special thank to these Mike Check level supporters. We got Speedy Savant, Valiant Cake Fiend, Aaron Toibson, Marius Field Vold, Jan Torrevel, Julien Auger Lafont, Steven Stager, Michael McClintock, Kale the Quick, Drazion, Adjective, Jason Yanity, Wes Oldenboving, Craig Mortel, Neil Bulkley, Milner, and absolutely everyone who watched, shared, favorited, and subscribed these videos. Thank you very much for keeping this series going, and I'll see you next time.